What's going on, Dominators? Rico Garcia bringing you yet another episode of Nothing But Goodness. Let me tell you. So hopefully you guys are participating in some of the industry trade shows. In today's episode, we're going to be joined by Larry Cooper over at The Experience, which, again, if you've been in the restoration for any amount of time, you've probably either have heard of at the very least or have actually attended The Experience. Larry is one of these individuals that has just been around the industry, what seems like forever, knows all of the players, and more importantly, has really been playing a major role when it comes down to how, or at least his approach to education and what he wants people to get from these events, which is very hands-on and also highly geared towards education. So we get to sit down with Larry Cooper. We get to talk about, his early days in the business, some of the changes that he sees happening in the industry today, and then again, express all about what The Experience is genuinely all about. So it was a really exciting interview to sit down with a guy with so much experience within an industry. And I think that you're going to take away some major nuggets of golden information here that you can go ahead and apply in your business. So without further ado, Larry Cooper, The Experience, let's go.
Welcome to the Restoration Domination Podcast, where you learn actionable advice that moves the needle and helps service-based businesses dominate. Here's your host, Rico Garcia Jr.
What is going on, Dominators? Rico Garcia here. I'm really excited about this because I think that we're going to have some great story time and lots of actionable things for you to go ahead and take away in your business, and also an opportunity for you to, if you haven't, consider attending one of these events. Larry, welcome to the show. Are you ready to help us dominate?
Absolutely, Rico. Can't wait to work with you and your audience.
Awesome, man. Cool. So do me a favor, for those that may not be hyper familiar with who you are and what you do, which shouldn't be that many people in the industry, but do me a favor, fill in some of the gaps on my intro, let everybody know who you are and what you're doing for the industry.
Hey, thank you very much. I started in the industry when I was 15 years old, if you can imagine, cleaning carpet. And when I was 16, I was running the guy's business, 3 trucks, cleaning carpet. And at 18, I started my own business to work my way through college. And what happened was my senior year, I was working about 70 hours a week cleaning carpet and doing water damage jobs, as opposed to spending time on academics like I should have been. But nonetheless, I built a business with my wife. We worked together throughout that whole time. And when I sold the business, we were very actively involved in carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning, hard surface floor cleaning, had a rug cleaning plant in Denver, Colorado, and we also perform water damage restoration, mold remediation, fire damage restoration, and trauma scene cleanup. And so I had 84 employees when I sold the business, and it's been quite a few years since I sold the business, over 20 years ago. And right after I sold the business, I started doing a lot of consulting through my company, Textile Consultants, and helping companies grow their business practices. And then I always loved teaching. I was very involved with the IICRC at the beginning and served as president of IICRC. I was UC back then, by the way, back in 1984 through 88, if you can imagine that long ago. I was 27 years old when I became president of that organization. And, I didn't really have any boundaries. I just said, yeah, I can kick everybody's, what. And I got to meet some people that were truly amazing geniuses in running their businesses and their background. And IICRC grew from 400 certified people to 4,000 while I was president. I stayed involved for another 19 years and started the Standards Committee, chaired the S500, the 520, the 100, the 300 for quite a few years. And then I brought in great people that took over all of those areas, and I just managed the standards for quite a while. While I was doing that, though, I was traveling around the world, meeting people, promoting standard of care for the industry, and teaching classes on management and marketing. and really enjoyed that for a long time. And then about 24 years ago, I got involved in a bigger education opportunity, which was to bring together associations and do a convention. And we worked with the associations for about 10 years. There were 14 trade associations. And then after that time, we went out on our own and started the experience. And the experience is coming up on 45 shows. And it's all about cleaning, restoration, and remediation. And we do things just a little different, which is that we know that most people don't do a great job learning in a classroom. I don't do a great job learning in a classroom. I sit there and I listen, I try to absorb, and I remember maybe 10% of that information. And so I started doing some research projects. How do we get people to really take away from our show a couple of ideas and implement them in their business so they can grow? And so what we learned was that if we do live demonstrations, the retention shot up to over 75%. And then if we actually did live demonstrations and put the tools in our attendees' hands and let them be part of it, it shot up to 85% retention. And what we found was that our attendees were taking 3 or 4 ideas from our show, going back and implementing those ideas in their company, and they were being very successful also. So that's kind of been our model, and the shows are doing great. It's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people in the industry, and we also have a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, and that's awesome. There's so much to unpack there, right? I'm sure like people want to know. It's like, great, well, this is, an individual in the industry that's got so much experience, has gone through so many different phases of the industry. There's like so much to ask, right? So, and I want to get deep into the experience and what that's all about and why people should attend, why should they should consider attending, and more importantly, if they do attend, what kind of possibilities they can go ahead and, what they can draw from that overall experience, no pun intended, and how that can affect their business. But I kind of want to I want to go back to your story a little bit. And one of the things that we talk about on our show quite a bit is how to properly build your business, how to expand your business, and what to do in order to exit, right? Like, what did you do in your business that made it attractive for an exit? And what advice would you give to a newer restoration company on things to look out for, especially in today's landscape, on how to build their business successfully so that they can one day go ahead and exit their business?
Well, when I started my company, the name was Cooper's Carpet Cleaners. And guess what? Everybody wanted Cooper to do the job. Well, here I am running 3 trucks and I can't be on any of them. And so that was the first important lesson I learned, was to use more of a generic name that allowed us to build teams. And so my whole company was run by a team of people that we trained very highly. Training is so critically important. Give you one example. Let's take the S500. What a great document it is. And it sits on the shelf and nobody really understands what's in it. So what I did in my company was I took the S500 and chapter 1, I taught the class. Just got into the beef, really spent an hour a day, 1 day a week talking about it. After a couple of weeks then, chapter 2 came up and another member of our team had to teach that class. And chapter 3, another member had to teach that class. And chapter 4, another team member had to teach that class. Here's what that did. It solidified the standard of care of the industry in our whole team. So no matter who was approached about what's going on in a job, they could recite it. They knew the information. It had already come out of their mouth. We kept rotating who was teaching which areas. That was a critical piece. So the first piece of success I would talk about is you got to include everybody in your company is in that teamwork. And, we're all concerned about keeping people on our team and not losing people. Well, the best thing I ever did was I always taught everybody in our company that it was critical that they get certified, and I would help them with certifications to the highest levels. And when they left my company, and they did, and started their own company, they still respected the heck out of our company because of how we performed our jobs every time and the level of expertise we brought to the field. And they brought that to their company. and we always maintained those relationships. So, when I had 40, 50 employees and a couple would leave each year, my best competitors were my ex-employees. And there is
Mm.
no such thing as a bad competitor out there. We're all competitors, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But we all need to be able to work together and raise the bar in the industry as high as we possibly can.
I love it. I love it. And a lot of entrepreneurs are, in fact, they're concerned about, hiring, especially in the early stages, right? Where personnel is so important. Manpower is so important. Everybody's always got that concern about saying, okay, well, if I train too much, if I make them too good, they can like walk away and do their thing. But that's kind of like what a real high octave entrepreneur wants, right? You want to have people in a lot of ways that are so much better at business and all these different aspects, even than the business owner themselves, because that's ultimately what's going to allow you to buy your time back. So would you say that, the people and the standards that you brought and how important it was to all of your team members, would you say that that was one of the critical aspects that made your business so attractive for an exit?
Yeah, and also I always strove to replace myself. Whatever position I had in the company, I always tried to find somebody that was better at it than me, that I could bring onto my team or raise up into that position. And in the end, all I was doing was managing 7 managers, and they were doing all the performance. So I already had this model. And the next piece that was critical was having systems in place. You got to have your whole company systemized so it's automatic what's happening when a job comes in. And once you have all of those things in place, that's pretty easy to sell, obviously. I mean, the other piece of it is obviously if you have steady, consistent work, that's what they're looking for. I had that with commercial cleaning, but on the restoration side, you don't know when you're going to get a job, but it's having that system in place and the marketing in place to be first in line. I'll never forget, we got a mall fire, which turned into a huge flood because all the sprinklers went off, right? So a couple of million square feet, we're actually there within 30 minutes, and it's over Christmas. And I was out of town. And one of my managers just went in, signed the contract, took care of everything. And then I flew back 3 days later once they got the place dry because there was a huge smoke damage. And as I'm sitting there in the manager's office, they just gave us the keys to the place, said, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. All my competitors from around the country were flying in to sign a contract to do the work. And I just sat there with a big grin on my face saying, man, I hope you enjoy Denver because we got it all wrapped up. We used over 100 people there. And that job is pretty symbolic for us also because those ceilings were pretty tall. I had lift trucks there, all kinds of activities going on, 100 people cleaning at the same time, and OSHA walked in. And I was like, whoo, are we lucky? I used every safety precaution I had ever learned about. Every one of my employees was in harnesses that was in the air. They were all wearing safety glasses, respirators, gloves. The guy from OSHA approached me and said, I've been watching what's going on. I thought I was going to get 50 grand out of you. And he said, I'm leaving. Great job. And we were just lucky that day, really, because we don't always do it on that job. But, when you're on a high profile job, you really need to think about what's happening. And that was one of the things, obviously, that set us aside.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations, right, where it's kind of the tipping point. It could take your business one way or another. If it would have been one of those days where maybe one of the guys were slacking, or if as an organization you hadn't really been familiar with the rules and regulations, if you didn't, maybe you were, even worse, if you were familiar with the rules and regulations, but you didn't enforce them and you were very laxed about it, that's the type of situation that could either, crumble a company or, say, okay, we passed this with flying colors. Now we're ready to take on anything. So one of the interesting things that you said is you talked about systems. And by doing the podcast, I've spoken a lot about systems and taking the ideas out of your head, putting them down either on a piece of paper or on a document. You need to have it somewhere, and you really need to dissect your every aspect of your business, even the most mundane, aspects of your business. What I have noticed is through having real conversations off camera with a lot of people is even some of these really big name organizations, they talk about having systems. They really don't have systems. Like, you ask some of their people, hey, who takes care of this aspects of the business? They're like, I don't know. And my follow-up question is like, who would know, or where could you go? What document do you have to where you can figure out how this is being done? And they're like, I don't know. I know that there's someone who does this thing, but I just don't know who that person is. Or I don't know what the chain of command is. So, SOPs are such an important part of any business. If you look at any successful franchise, like, that's really what separates them from anybody else, right? You can open up a McDonald's or any one of these fast food places, and they've got an exact playbook that everybody does the exact same thing. And, my question to you is, at what stage should people start developing SOPs? Should they, first day of business, they should start analyzing what it is that they do, or should they give themselves a grace period? Like, if you were opening up a new restoration company today, how would you go around, or about developing SOPs and developing these systems for not only for yourself, but for everybody on your team?
That's a really great question. If I was just opening a business, I may not have a lot of employees. And I'd want to do a lot of study, because I studied each job to understand, what is routine? What are we normally doing? The biggest problems we had as a company was losing equipment, not recording it properly, losing air movers and dehumidifiers and air filtration devices, meters. Not losing those saved you thousands of dollars a year. So putting in a great tracking system for your equipment. There's so many tracking programs available now we didn't have back then. That's a critical thing, obviously. I think the education piece is really valuable in that all of a sudden my team, once they really got what was going on, they were starting to record our systems also. And we would bring them all together in quarterly meetings as a team. And we literally wrote the book for our company, so that if somebody had a question, they could open it up. There it is. Here's who's responsible. We had a clear chain of command, but also, it wasn't that harsh. It was more like, hey, if you have questions, here's who to go to. But we want you to be able to stand on your own feet and do it. If I was to go back in business today, I'd have to think about it. There are so many conversion franchises available, and I've never been a franchise guy, man. I've always been independent, but I'd have to see what they're charging. That's an interesting question for me now. Is that a better way to go? Now, I'm not excited about having contracts with insurance companies and with, being mandated about, hey, here's how you're going to do the job. I'm going to do the job to the best of my ability based on the best practices for the industry. And if somebody doesn't want me to do that, I don't want the job. I don't want the risk.
Right.
I don't need the risk. Let them take the risk.
Right.
So, that's really the bottom line is you got to study that. If you're going to start on your own, you got to be well funded. You don't want to be underfunded and cut corners, and just really understand how to build relationships out there. That is so important right now.
Yeah, building the right relationships is definitely key. And again, that's a totally different, discussion in and of itself. We could probably do an entire podcast just on different ways of building relationships. And everybody has a difference in opinions as far as how to build relationships. The one thing I will say to the newer generation, the people that are just getting into the business now is, we have technology today, right? Let's say, for example, even something as simple as you and I sitting on this podcast,
Amazing.
right? Or having a Zoom meeting or what have you. These are tools that were not available back in the day, and everybody's got a smartphone. I mean, when you really think about how much power everybody has in the palm of their hand today, by comparison to, when you first got into the business, in the 80s or whatever the case may be, like, it's a big, big difference. So like when it comes down to networking, you now have the ability to not necessarily go to all these networking meetings, but you do have the ability to showcase who you are, what you stand for, what your thoughts are, and the big things that you're doing, even in your local neighborhood. And that becomes a very solid form of networking, because you're just kind of putting it out there, and then people are either being attracted to who you are, what you stand for, or they're totally put off by it. But either way, like, that's such a huge win. So, as far as networking is concerned and building these networks, I think that that's an interesting point to make within the industry. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I used to go out to my jobs, my inspection kit took up the whole darn van because, this little tool is my camera. It is my video camera. I can also take all notes and recording on it. Now they've got programs, and several companies have it. I can walk in and video the rooms. It's going to diagram the rooms for me. And once I have the full diagram done, it'll help me actually, on a progressive way, track how the drawing's going. Man, I used to bring in so much, and I was back on that job site once or twice a day to see how we were doing. That's no longer required, and that's changed everything, to say the least. It's so much easier than it used to be, but it's so much more technical than it used to be. And I'm really excited to finally see some real science behind what we're doing and how things have changed. When it comes to marketing also, I just had to sit back for a long time and say, who is it that has these jobs that needs an expert that cares about the technical side? So I went to all the fire departments. I went to the Department of Health. I went to Health and Human Services, just places people wouldn't think of going. I never marketed to the insurance companies. And we stayed so busy, and when we started doing trauma scene cleanup, that was a real challenge for us, obviously. Everybody reacts differently. And some people it doesn't bother at all. I had people puking in their masks. I had some people telling stupid jokes that were just off color. They couldn't stop. That was their defense mechanism. Some people laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I ended up doing is every month, I was working with these counties. They would send over a social worker to work with our whole team and talk about what we're going through. So, there's really specialized things in each one of these areas. If your goal is to work with insurance companies, just be prepared that they're going to tell you how the jobs are going to be done, how much equipment you can use, and when you're going to be done with that job. They're going to set a maximum on what you can spend. And, my goal was never to have someone dominate the conversation with us. It was to follow the standard of care in the industry and do the jobs by the book. Because ultimately, why do we do that? Is because we're protecting human health in that environment. And that was my ultimate goal.
That's awesome. So kind of switching gears, I want to get into about the experience and how you got into, getting these shows up and off the ground. And then I also want to talk about some of the fundamental differences that you find between the experience and some of the other shows that are out there. But before we get into that, let's just take a quick moment and thank our sponsors. Hey, real quick, are you a restoration pro looking to hire top talent inside of our industry? We all know that labor shortages are real, but I may have a solution for you, okay? And that is Wylander. Why? Well, very simple. They are the go-to recruiting company inside of the restoration arena. Well, the reason I say that is very simple. They've got proofs in the pudding. They've got over 1,000 placements in all 50 states, plus Canada. And what that means is that they not only have the expertise, but more importantly, they have the connections to find that top industry talent that you and your team are looking for. So stop wasting time. Stop sifting through tons and tons of resumes and just conducting endless interviews. Let Wylander do the heavy lifting for you and help you find that right person to help your company succeed. Call Wylander today and start building that dream team inside of the restoration arena. Dominators, let's face it, your company will make it or break it on the backs of your estimating team. But if we're honest here for a second, what tools have you actually given them to succeed? The Actionable Profile is the newest tool inside of your estimator's toolbox, or at the very least, it should be. The Actionable Xactimate Profile is a data-driven solution that provides real-time estimating guidance on the fly. It checks for both overages, omissions in your estimates in real time, leading your team to having much more accurate scopes each and every single time that they're writing an estimate. Avoid any kind of potential conflicts with the adjuster and ensure that your estimates include every single warranted line item with the Actionable Xactimate Profile. Get your free demo today. If you head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate, we've got an amazing offer for you. Again, head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate and get your free demo today. Hey, Dominators, I want to talk to you about Impartial and how Impartial creates timely and accurate estimates for faster and fairer claims settlements. Impartial's intelligent toolkit leverages Matterport's 3D scanning technology to automatically generate mitigation and repair estimates. And with Impartial Scope, you can extract relevant data that's embedded within the pre-mitigation and the post-mitigation scans and generate objectively accurate Xactimate or Symbility estimates. Remove the administrative burden and finally accelerate your claims approvals with Impartial today. Dominators, never fill out another claim packet yourself or wait on hold for what seems sometimes to be hours on end to try to get a hold of a lost draft mortgage representative again. Surety was actually purpose-built to keep insurance proceeds flowing to vetted restoration contractors just like you, to relieve cash flow crunch and to reduce a lot of the common administrative burdens that happens when there's a mortgage company involved. So get paid for the work that you've done, get paid faster, get paid with a lot less effort, because listen, at the end of the day, it's your money. So if you want to go ahead and check out Surety, which I would strongly recommend that you do, head on over to your.surety.com/dominate. Again, that's your.surety.com/dominate. We got a really special offer for you. You'll be thankful you did. Hey guys, let me ask you a quick question. Do you want to get paid faster and collect more on your insurance invoices? Then listen, look no further than One Claim Solutions. OCS is an insurance billing specialist that works with adjuster on behalf of people just like us, restoration contractors, to accelerate our receivables cycle and, more importantly, increase our overall collections. Contractors that work with One Claim get their invoices paid on average in around 32 days. And in most cases, actually see an increase in the collections that more than offset the price of the service. So in a lot of ways, this makes OCS effectively free. And that's even before you start to count in the overhead savings that's tied to billing and all of the other administrative burdens that go along with that. So I tell you what, let One Claim Solutions deal with carriers so that you can spend more time on what matters most, which is running your business. Get your free consultation today. Head on over to oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. Once again, that is oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. All right. And we are back. So let's we left off talking about, the experience and the show in and of itself. Like, how did that come to light?
Well, I always really love the educational portion of the industry, and trying to raise the bar in the industry. The only way you can do that is to bring in what I believe are the best educators in the industry. What I never wanted to have happen was that we would have a price point on our show that limited who could attend the show. And that's why everybody's like, why don't you charge more? It's because I don't want to charge more. I want the prices to stay low enough that there's no barrier for anybody to come to the show. And if somebody can't afford it, they can call us and we'll help them. But, the bottom line really is, the more people that attend a show like this, the better the industry is. So what we created was 5 tracks of education, and we started this track system, and now all the other shows are following us, and that's wonderful. We do restoration and remediation in track 1, cleaning in track 2, marketing and management in track 3, and in track 4, we try to do things related more to, what's new in the industry, what's progressive, what's new technically. And then track 5 is generally more of an open area. And for the last couple of years, we've been using that track to work with a group called Normie, who's also located out of Florida. and they're all about remediation. And they've been doing live hands-on demonstrations for us about how to set up containment, how to set up air filtration devices, how to build all of this containment, and then actually removal of mold. How do you do it? How do you test for it? Those kind of things hands-on mean a lot. They're really valuable. And so that is how we do the education portion. The other thing that's different about our show is when you come to our show, education runs from about 8:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. Then the
Mhm.
trade show opens for 4 hours. We don't compete with the education. That is so important to us. The trade show then is, in Las Vegas coming up in September. We'll have about 240 booth spaces there. But
Right.
we also take about 100,000 square feet and we build hands-on live demonstration pavilions for people to go experience. In Las Vegas, we're
Right.
going to build a house, and we've been doing this for about 10 years. We build a house, good size house, and then we flood it right at the beginning of the
Mhm.
show. And then for the next three
Right.
days, we teach people hands-on best practices. How do you do the extraction? How do you do the inspection? How do you track the job to see how it's drying? How do you set air movers, dehumidifiers, air filtration devices? We've gone as far as setting up room by room different flooring material and then having a crawl space under it so we could actually use meters underneath to see how it's drying, how effective we were being. I mean, those things are critically important. And then we have a relationship with Shaw Industries, the largest manufacturer of floor covering in the world. And they come in with Shaw Learning Lab, and they teach about all of their products hands on, show you how they're built. So we use their products in the flood house and all of our live demos. We have carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning. We have area rug cleaning, Oriental rugs, other manufactured rugs that are made around the world. And then we have remediation sections also. I mean, there's so much going on in the room. You're not bored, obviously. You want to stay and gather as much information as you can. So, what's different about our show is that it's for everybody. It's not just for the big guys out there. We love to have the big guys there, but somebody that's just thinking about starting a business, they're going to learn so much at our show. They won't believe it. And the guys that have been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to learn some new tricks. And we don't want you to take home 100 ideas. Take home 3 or 4 and implement them in your business. It will
Right.
excel what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and I think that that's such a great mindset, right? To anytime that you attend an event, anytime that I mean, hell, even for myself, like I'm very big on mentorship, coaching, mastermind groups, things like that, getting around high octave people, and some of these things are very expensive, like very, very expensive. And when you go in trying to say, okay, well, I just want to get every single idea, like that's a really daunting thing. But if you walk in with just a simple mindset of like, if I could just walk away with one little nugget, just one little thing, that'll automatically just take your business to a whole new level. And, you never know who you're going to meet at, any one of these events. You're never going to know what that little nugget is. You're never going to know what void that existed in your business is going to be brought to light through a speaker, through somebody at a booth. So that's like the kind of mindset to go into when you're attending any of these kind of events, right?
Absolutely. And you won't believe who you meet there. I mean, these people,
Right.
you think they're unapproachable, but they're very approachable and they want to share their knowledge. And they will give you their card and phone number so you can call them and network with them and learn and share information with them also. We're all still learning, obviously. And every show, I'm
Right.
looking at new things coming forward, going, wow, how, man, it really almost makes me want to go back in the business. And then I wake up and say, what the hell are you thinking? Anyway,
Yeah, we were talking about that off camera a little bit. You're like, man, for a split second, and then I was like, wait, what am I thinking about?
we have something coming at this next show that who would have ever thought about all this fentanyl and all of these unfortunate contaminations and infectious diseases that we're talking about. But we have one of our experts who's been working with us for about 5 years. He's been developing critical response type of situations where he can go into an environment that's contaminated with fentanyl and neutralize it and keep the people safe, make sure the environment's cleaned properly, and that's going to be part of our presentation at the show. You don't want to miss something like that. That's brand new to the industry, brand new to the world. And it's not just for our industry, obviously. Governments are going to want it, police stations, fire station, everybody's going to want this information. And they're training our industry now how to respond and do these kind of jobs, which is really great. Now, there's one other thing. About 30 years ago, there was a guy named Dr. Michael Berry. He was with the EPA, and he really challenged us about what we were doing as an industry. He's a pretty stern kind of guy, Army guy, and he's part of the reason we got into standards and writing standards, because he's like, you guys just make up stuff. Well, nonetheless, we did. Yeah, MUS,
Right.
man, we made up stuff all the time. But how else could you put something in writing and then challenge it to improve the standard of what you have? That's what we ended up doing. But he wrote a book that was all about clean first for health, then for appearance. And that book still stands today as one of the most valuable tools ever written. And it's not available right now. I hope they republish it. But we're going to feature a program at our show talking about it, not just from the cleaning side, but from the restoration and remediation side also, because cleaning is so fundamental to every job we do. And so we're going to have a great panel of experts talking just about that.
That's awesome. And right now you have two upcoming events, right?
Yes.
One which is going to be right here in
Fort
basically our
Lauderdale, man, I'm
backyard.
excited.
Fort Lauderdale, sunny South Florida. It's a great opportunity. If you've never been to South Florida, this would be the time to do it. And then the one after that is in Vegas,
Yep.
correct?
So we've been going to
And what's the
Vegas
date on that?
for over 20 years. And the Fort Lauderdale show is awesome because it's a little smaller and you can meet people and really network with them. But we have 4 tracks of education in Fort Lauderdale, 5 tracks in Las Vegas because there's so many more people. But I'm in Colorado and I can't wait to get the heck out of the snow and go down to some of your beautiful sunny beaches is all I've got to say. So the program is fantastic in Fort Lauderdale. Got 140 exhibitors there. We're at the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center. We're staying across the street at the Hilton Marina Hotel. And I actually negotiated that contract during COVID. And guess what our rate is? $169 a night. And right now that
Nice.
hotel's going for $299 to $379 a night. And I'm about 70% sold. So if you want to get in on these cheaper prices, now's the time to obviously book your hotel. You can go right to our website, experiencetheevents.com, to do that and to register.
So what else is on the horizon for the experience? And one of the things that I'd really like to have you really talk on is, what do you see that's different and exciting in the industry today as opposed to what it was, just a few short years ago?
It's a great question. So on the horizon, our Las Vegas show is September 6th, 7th, and 8th. We're at the Caesars Forum Conference Center, which is an absolutely gorgeous location. And again, we keep our prices as low as we can. Your price that you pay basically just pays for the food you're going to eat and the free drinks I'm giving you. That's it. The exhibitors and our sponsors pay for the show, so we're able to hold the show. So what's really exciting to me is all of the new technology that's coming in to the industry right now. And so a lot of our sponsors will be over at the Flood House or over at the cleaning area or over at one of the other live demonstrations, demonstrating their new technology, which is great. There's also some new equipment coming out, and all of the new equipment launches happen at our show in Las Vegas. So that is really another great opportunity. But, the key to a successful show in Las Vegas for an attendee is to be present. Go to the classes, go to the trade show, go booth to booth and meet the people and understand what's available in the industry. You won't believe what's in that trade show that would help grow your business. But that's just the start. We do receptions and parties out there like you can't believe. You want to be at those and meet everybody in the industry you can. Just network. That we set these up to network. The last couple of years, I've brought in big name bands to play at our shows. And I mean, we've had some great receptions. So just definitely take a look at, the opportunity in front of you. It's not about how much you can drink. It's about how many people you can meet. That's Vegas,
Right.
really, because there's so much to do there. But Fort Lauderdale is the same way. There's so many great people to meet. That's on May 8, 9, and 10. You should definitely take a look at that also.
That's awesome. And if people want to get more information on the experience and the shows and how to stay, up to date with that, and or they also want to get in contact with you personally,
Sure.
want to learn more about you, where would we send those individuals to?
So first of all, go to the website, experiencetheevents.com. You'll see the whole agenda there. You can register there. You can book your hotel there. You can see all the exhibitors and floor plan there also. But then our phone number in our office is 888-881-1001 or 303-469-0306. And we're here every day and
Awesome.
happy to work with you, help you as much as we can.
That's awesome. And by the way, all of those links and phone numbers will be in the video description as well as in the show notes as per usual for your convenience. Larry, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us and help us dominate, try to elevate our game. We really appreciate your time here today.
Thank you so much. And I really love that you're trying to dominate the discussion. That's awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. And all those dominators out there, make sure that you check out the link. If you haven't been to the experience yet, now would be the time to go ahead and check it out. You never know who you're going to meet. There's so many new innovative things that are happening in the marketplace. There's also so much, again, no pun intended, so much experience from some of the veterans in the industry that are going to be there. But then there's also all of this entire new school of thought, the newer players that are entering the marketplace that are doing new and innovative things that you can go ahead and bundle this stuff together and go back home, go back to your business with a whole new business plan that, as per usual, can help you hustle, hack, dominate. I will catch you guys on the next one.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, your #1 resource for tips, tricks, and hacks to help your business grow. Subscribe to our channel and follow us for more Restoration Domination. And follow our host at Rico Garcia Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.